We're recording. All right, we'll call the order. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible. Roll call.
Mr. Ward
Here.
Mr. Fernandez.
Here.
Mr. Grady.
Here.
Mr. Holmes.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Paradise.
Here. Any public comments? Okay. First item of new business, we have a nomination for a chairman.
I'll nominate. You want to do this in one shot?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to nominate Sal Bordero for chair, Jerry Curtis for vice chair.
Second.
So we have Mr. Bordero for chairman, Mr. Paradise for vice chairman. We nominated and Mr. Holmes seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Congratulations, guys. So meeting's up.
It's ready to hit the board.
Just about. I'd like to make a motion to approve the private.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Same.
I will just update you on a couple of things and then we'll be out of here. First, we are right now in the midst of the 6th audit with PKF, our audit firm. We hired them for 3 years. And we recall about 2.5 years ago, the board decided to stay with them. They gave us a flat rate for 1 year, $1,000 increase in subsequent years. This is the one vendor that the charter dictates this board approves, the council doesn't, you're responsible for that. We are right now, unless you have an objection and wish to try to keep them for another 3-year cycle without going out to bid, we'll be putting together the RFP. So if you want, we're planning to go out to bid and see who comes back in and do that. Again, this is the 6th year, so 2 3-year cycles. They're a good firm. I have no issues with them at all. They're knowledgeable, they're reputable, and numerous communities across the state and are part of a larger firm that goes beyond Connecticut. It's a good firm. But after 6 years, sometimes it's always good to see what's in the market. So I'll put it out to you guys if you'd like us to let you approach the partner and potentially see what they can do for another 3-year contract or go out to bid, either one.
They would be in the bidding process too, correct?
I'm sorry?
They would be on the bidding
They
process
have
too,
every right to be on the bidding process. Absolutely.
I should put it on the bid.
I agree. As you guys know, that's the business that I've been in for 40 years. I wholeheartedly agree. It's always good to see what the numbers are. Someone out there is a good firm and we'll know who they are. They come in with good numbers, then we should give them a chance. I agree with you too that our current auditors are well respected in Connecticut. They do good work. They do quality work. You can't say that of every firm that doesn't risk work. It certainly would speak my piece to keep one of those other firms coming here, even if they were a low bid firm. So never hurts to see what's in the market.
And it gives them the opportunity if they want to come with a lower bid too. They'll save a few bucks on the same company.
Absolutely. Okay, we will go forward. I left you 2 draft calendars. One is for the budget calendar and one is for the FY20 calendar 22 meetings. We vote in December. Technically, we have the January meeting on the calendar. We always go to January next year, just in case if something happens in December and we can't vote. So the budget calendar is largely based off of last year. So you'll be on the agenda to vote next time. I want to give you guys the opportunity to look at it, bounce off your personal calendars to see if there's any conflicts. I will point out that there's the August 2nd meeting. We always have that, typically a placeholder. Normally we don't meet in August, however, it is on there in the event that there are late over budget items that just need to approve late transfers. If not, that's typically canceled as the council doesn't meet in August as well, but that's why it's on there. Third thing, we had spoken last meeting about 2 fire vehicles and appropriating money. So I did go to the council last meeting and they are calling the town meeting for the 30th. So November 30th meeting. Before that at 6:45 will be a town meeting to discuss and vote on that. And should it pass, it will be on the agenda for the council to take it up. And should it pass there, it will come back to you in December. So just want to let you guys know if you want to participate in that meeting or not. And then lastly, just kind of a highlight, I have some risk and opportunities out there, and we're starting to get indications of substantial price increases to the tune of 25 to 40% in some areas. Obviously, fuel, I'm not surprised to anybody. The garage is beginning to update snow plows and snow equipment in anticipation of the upcoming season. As they went to put equipment out, they were told by the vendor that they're seeing 25% increases year over year. We have a transfer from contingency on the council agenda for the 30th to $5,000. It's not the largest line item, certainly sharpening plows, replacement parts, not the most expensive thing the town has, but it is an early indication of where we're kind of heading as we come into the winter months. So I think there is room. There's room right now in electricity, some room in other areas, but that room could dissipate as we go in. Certainly we'll be watching that and incorporating that as we get to the next budget cycle, unfortunately.
I would just give you a heads up because we just went out for our healthcare. Connecticut came in at 30 and then dropped to 23 and a half, and they're now at 21 and a quarter. The other 3 players in the market were 17, 18. So you can count on that. I think they're grabbing back from COVID. But it's going to be a large increase.
The good news is the town is self-insured. So we have been looking at a variety of things for the direct. We do expect that these claims have been running on wood favorable now for about 2 years after a 3-year terrible cycle. But I do expect that. So there's going to be some work for all of us. We're certainly keenly aware of that as we're pulling together. Right now, we're focused on capital, we're focused on revenue, we're focused on fee schedule, things like that we're looking at. But I do know the board is gathering their information, and I'll have more for the budget next time. Get a little bit deeper into that. One other thing to think about, certainly don't decide tonight, but we tried meeting with the Board of Ed and the council as early as October at times in the past. Last year, I think we met at the very first working session we had, so we kind of covered the span of many months in between. Probably the ideal time to meet would be January, February, as budgets are being developed, so there can be actually a two-way exchange, not just what the board and the council has as priorities, but what you guys are seeing, hearing, and believing should be our targets as we bring budgets forward to you. But I'll let you guys think about that, and if your direction with December is we'd like to meet in January, February, to work with superintendent, work with the council, and try to make that happen. So,
well, I think that, because the budget's already done, it's too late. You want to give some guidance. It's worthwhile.
That's fine. There's no questions. That's just all the financials. We're hanging in there.
Looking at the, we have to be participating as a board or in individuals participating.
It's a council meeting, so you will be private citizens participating. There's no expectation of the board coming forward. Mr. Simons will be there to talk about the vehicles if there's any questions. I think there's a compelling financial case, given the rate increases expected to go in January, given the exceptionally low interest that we're earning on the money that's sitting there. At the same time, it's $2.2 million. That's a substantial amount of money for all of these.
I have two questions. Any update on the police pensions?
We did meet. Jerry was part of that process. There was a letter to the editor or editorial. There was a item from the chairman and vice chairman of the police commission. What they are pushing forward right now is an escalating match on the defined contribution. So that someone stays there for 10 years. Right now it is a 2-to-1 match. So for new people, it's 4 to 8. For tenured officers, it's 6 and 12. You contribute 6, town matches 12. First step would be to put everybody on the 6-12. So everybody who contributes 6, town would match 12. So immediately new folks would contribute 2% more, but would get 4% more in match. At 10 years, that number would go up to a 2.5 to 1. At 15 years, it would go to 3 to 1. So that's kind of the concept now. To give you perspective, that's basically put in 6%. After 15 years, you get 18% match, which is benchmarking in other communities exceptionally high. The advantage there is it's a defined contribution. So you budget it, plan, and you don't. We do have numbers for a defined benefit plan. There was some resistance, probably driven in part by my ominous approach of pointing out that the town has not had a record of funding the existing pension plan. We've pretty much crawled out of the hole. We have 5 existing members, active members. So there's still 5. But because interest rates have been rising, you know, you're looking at about a $1.7 million liability, which is substantially down from last year. In part because of rising interest rates, in part because we took $5.3 million out of savings to pay for the Still,
I think one of the things that came out of that meeting was a request to, I went to CCM and asked them to poll some other towns in terms of police turnover rates and what they're doing for defined contribution to benefit. So that's how the last meeting ended. Arosha did just recently send out some, or sent out some information. They got limited info back from the other towns, but I think the two things that did stick out to me were, you know, one of the reasons, or the primary reason that I heard that why we were doing this was turnover. And it seems like our turnover rate was not higher than anybody else's. It was quite a bit better than everybody else's. And the second point that Kevin made, what was being talked about here as town contribution, purely Limelight Ridge, you know, when you compare it to what other towns are doing. So, I mean, we don't have a say necessarily in that. That's town council, but I think we have an opinion.
the only thing I'll add to it is we have a new title right now, superintendent, effective chief, and Roche did meet with him and discuss a number of things. This was one of them. And I'm sure not unexpected. He wants the opportunity to get his arms around this before he really thinks it's needed to be sworn in last Thursday. So he needs time to talk to the team and understand what's going on. I'm sure he'll have opinions that what would help him run the department and retain employees. Oh, sorry.
We secured an adequate supply of salt this year.
I have not seen an invoice for purchasing salt. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I just haven't seen it.
That market has shrunk also.
I do know at the end of every season, they do seize on the opportunity to get as much at the lower price as they can. So they may not have purchased at this point because they have it. I don't know. Follow up on that.
Too early to ask you for an estimate where you think this year's fund balance is going to end?
certainly see it, I'll put it broadly, we're certainly going to be down because we appropriated so much for the pension. I do see a recovery coming unless prices just absolutely stagnate. One wild part there would be any unexpected or turnover, especially with these because that's what we've seen most.
Someone new out of the air federal grants or?
No, but the state in the last budget did resurrect the revenue sharing grant. So we are going to pick up a little over $190,000 this year. It's not true in the budget. I'll go into this a little more in December, but one thing to keep in mind, when that revenue sharing grant was put forward several years ago, it was in place for 1 year and then eliminated. There was, with that, was a cap of 2.5% spending increase year over year. Extent any community exceeds 2.5%, you lose 50 cents for every dollar you exceed 2.5%, you lose 50 cents. This particular year just started under that number of 200%, so you get that full money. A couple of things that are excluded from that is any activity related to debt, capital, special ed, and any pension. I don't anticipate coming back to you asking for anything for pension this year for the first time in my tenure here, because by appropriating so much this year, you essentially pre-fund next year's ABC. So there won't really be a reason to do that. We will have capital requests that was some of the budget. That, if you were to increase capital, would actually benefit coming down on that 2.5%, so it would help. Debt, right now the plan is not to issue any new debt, which means debt will decline, which means that will actually go the opposite direction and cause you to have to spend less on operation. And then finally, special ed. And that's a piece of part of education. You're looking north of $12 million in the Board of Ed budget is special education. And that's everything from tuition and transportation for outplaced students to special ed costs for things that we do within the district. It's a lot of money. And then from there, that's where, if we want to realize that full grant, which will be $300,000 in the FY23 budget, so it's real money within the budget, we would have to keep the rest of the costs down to 2.5%. And I'll have the chart for you as we go through the budget process. That was additional calculation we do. So as you think about proposing the budget, you'll know whether or not we've gone over that and what that means. It's an additional factor that we haven't had to deal with, which puts a little wrinkle in it. But on the positive side, it's $300,000. The state is looking at a lot, so that's a positive.
Does that measure work off the prior year original budget? Or
yes, the original budget.
Might go through the financial role.
It's up to you guys. I can answer any questions, anything you guys want to talk about.
I'm good. Largely, I know you. I will. That's it, right? Just make a motion to adjourn. So move. Second.
second?
Favor?
Aye.
Record.